The sun hung low in the sky as Emily stepped off the tour bus, her heart pulsing with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The small town was known for its quirky attractions, but the newly opened mirror maze was the talk of every travel blog she followed. A freelance artist seeking inspiration, Emily hoped the maze would jolt her stagnant creativity. She brushed a strand of auburn hair from her face, her fingers trembling slightly, a telltale sign of the anxiety she tried so hard to mask. Crowds made her uneasy, but the allure of the maze was too strong to resist. She took a deep breath, adjusted the strap of her worn satchel filled with sketchbooks, and joined the line of eager visitors. As she approached the entrance, the facade of the maze loomed above. A grand archway adorned with ornate carvings and surrounded by funhouse mirrors that distorted reality into surreal shapes. Twinkling lights flickered unpredictably around a marquee that read, "The Infinite Labyrinth." A whimsical yet eerie melody floated through the air, underscored by the distant echo of laughter. An imposing clown statue stood by the doorway, its painted grin wide and eyes glinting mischievously. Emily felt a chill creep up her spine, but shrugged it off as part of the attraction's charm. She handed her ticket to the attendant, a man whose face seemed oddly obscured by shadows, and stepped inside, the whispers of the outside world fading behind her. The interior enveloped her in a cosmic swirl of reflections. Mirrors stretched in all directions, creating endless corridors that intertwined and looped back on themselves. Soft lights shimmered from unseen sources, casting ethereal glows that danced across the glass surfaces. The air was cool and carried a faint scent of old wood and something sweetly metallic. As Emily ventured deeper, she marveled at the intricate designs etched into the mirror frames. Vines that seemed to writhe, and faces that almost appeared to move when she wasn't looking directly at them. Yet, beneath her fascination, a gnawing uncertainty grew. The maze was far more complex than she had anticipated, and the absence of other visitors made her footsteps echo hauntingly. Minutes turned into an hour, and Emily's initial wonder began to wane. The passages all looked the same, and she couldn't shake the feeling of being watched. At first, she dismissed the flickers at the edge of her vision as tricks of the light. But then she saw him, a fleeting reflection of a clown darting between the mirrors, his face obscured by shadow, but for the glint of sharp, gleaming eyes. Her heart lurched. Clowns had always unsettled her, a childhood fear she thought she'd outgrown. She quickened her pace, the clack of her boots on the marble floor echoing louder. The maze seemed to respond, the path narrowing, mirrors angling differently, leading her deeper into its shimmering gut. An unsettling silence settled over the maze, broken only by the distant, distorted strains of carnival music. The reflections around her began to warp. Where once stood her solitary figure now appeared multiple Emilys, each bearing expressions of dread that she didn't feel yet. Panic bubbled within her as the reflections started to act independently, some turning away, others reaching out as if trapped behind the glass. She stumbled backward, colliding with a mirror that felt unnaturally cold. A low chuckle reverberated through the air, sinister and hollow. "Who's there?" she called out, her voice wavering. The only response was the sudden flicker of lights and the appearance of words etched onto the mirrors. "Play with me." Emily's breaths came in shallow gasps. The oppressive atmosphere pressed in, and the walls of the maze seemed to close tighter. She fumbled for her phone, but there was no signal, no way to call for help. Summoning her courage, she decided to retrace her steps, but every turn led to another dead end or a corridor she didn't recognize. The clown's presence grew more tangible. She caught glimpses of his brightly colored suit, heard the faint squeak of oversized shoes, felt the gust of air as something brushed past her. The line between reality and illusion blurred. Desperate, she pressed her palms against a mirror, her fingerprints smearing the cold surface as she searched for any imperfection, any sign of an exit. Suddenly, the mirrors behind her shattered with a deafening crash. Shards rained down, but instead of scattering, they hovered mid-air, reflecting countless fragmented images of the clown advancing toward her. His face was a grotesque mask of smeared paint, eyes dark pits that promised nothing but malice. "Stay," he whispered, though his lips didn't move. The word echoed within her mind. Terror seized her, rooting her to the spot. Memories of all she'd left unresolved flooded back. The strained relationship with her parents, the artistic ambitions she'd abandoned, the persistent loneliness. Was this punishment? A manifestation of her deepest fears? The clown extended a gloved hand, and from it sprouted tendrils of darkness that snaked toward her. But within the depths of her despair, a spark ignited. Emily remembered the charcoal pencil tucked behind her ear, a constant companion. In a surge of defiance, she snatched it and began to draw frantically on the mirror before her. She sketched a door, imbuing it with every ounce of willpower she possessed. The engraved vines from the mirror frames seemed to come alive, intertwining with her drawing. The tendrils paused, recoiling as if burned. Seizing the moment, she pushed against the drawing. To her astonishment, the glass gave way, and she stumbled through the ethereal doorway. Behind her, the clown's furious scream shattered the air, but it faded as the door sealed shut. Emily found herself outside, bathed in the golden hues of twilight. The maze stood silent, an innocuous structure once more. She gasped, lungs burning, tears streaming down her face. The warm breeze was a stark contrast to the chilling atmosphere she'd escaped. Visitors passed by, oblivious to her ordeal, their laughter a comforting reminder of normalcy. She wanted to believe it had all been a hallucination, a trick of stress and an overactive imagination. But as she glanced down, her hand still clutched the charcoal pencil, now worn to a nub. Opening her satchel, she discovered her sketchbook filled with dark, abstract drawings she didn't remember creating, twisted corridors, hollow-eyed clowns, and mirrors that seemed to stare back. A lingering unease settled within her, but also an unexpected resolve. The experience had peeled back layers she'd long ignored, forcing her to confront not just surface fears but the roots beneath them. Emily knew that she couldn't return to who she was before. The maze had changed her, but perhaps not entirely for the worse. With a steadying breath, she stood taller, the weight on her shoulders a little lighter. Unseen by those around, a faint reflection in a nearby window showed a clown watching her with a sly grin, finger pressed to his lips. But when she blinked, the image was gone, leaving only the fading light of day. As Emily walked toward the setting sun, her footsteps carried a newfound purpose. The whispers of the maze lingered, a haunting melody that she knew would call to her in quiet moments. Yet she felt ready to face whatever shadows lay ahead, armed with the knowledge that sometimes the darkest places can illuminate the most profound truths. And somewhere behind her, the Infinite Labyrinth waited, ever hungry, ever watching, its secrets sealed within mirrors and the echoes of forgotten laughter.